Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, CHULLIN Daf Pei. We begin around 20 lines from the top of the Amud. Amar Rav Yehuda. Okay, so back to the discussion about this unique breed, this unique animal called a koi. So later on, we're going to make reference to this animal with respect to whether he's classified as behema or chaya regarding kisei hadam. Only the blood of a slaughtered chaya needs to be covered with earth, but not the blood of a behema. So there's a whole discussion about this koi. According to some opinions, he's in a perpetual state of uncertainty as to how to classify him. Does he belong to the behema family, in which case is exempt from kisui hadam, or perhaps he belongs to the chaya family, in which case he's obligated in kisui hadam. So today we're going to have no less than 4 opinions as to how to label this creature. Amar Rav Yehuda, koi, well, he's something unique. Unlike anything else, bria bifnei atzmahi. He holds that the koi that's discussed in the Mishnah later is not it's not a crossbreed between a behema and a chaya, as we learned yesterday. He holds that it's impossible to generate offspring in that manner. Rather, he holds its own unique breed, bria bifnei atzmahi, and his status is undefinable. Chacham could not establish im main behemahi, if he's a type of behema, im min chayahi, or perhaps he's from the chaya family. Rav Nachman Amar, he says no, a koi certainly is labeled as a chaya. Koi is the ayil habar, that's the wild ram growing out in the forest. He's a wild animal, he's a chaya. The behemoths tend to be more domesticated and the chaya is not. So this is, in his behavior, in his habitat, it's fully in line with chaya. He's classified as a chaya. Kitanoi. So these were Amoraim. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's a suffix. According to Rav Nachman, it's a chaya. We have a machlekes tanaim in this regard as well. And some of these Amoraim line up with these tanaim. Kitanoi. Koi Zail Habar, okay, according to Tanakama, which is in line with Rav Nachman. In fact, the Koi is the Ayil Habar, and he's called a Chaya. Some say Zehava min Atayish Matzvia. He was produced by crossbreeding a Tayish and a Tzvia. A Tayish is a Behema, Tzvia is a Chaya. Rabbi Yisrael Eimer, no, it's its own unique entity. Koi Bria B'fnei Atzmahi, V'lo Yichriu B'Chacham. Chacham could not establish its exact identity. Im min chaya, im min behema. And this is in line with Rabbi Yehuda, discussed a minute ago. And finally, the 4th shita is that it's considered a behema. Rabbi Shimon Leimer min behema. He belongs to the behema category. Vishal based to Shoy, there was his family, the Shoy family. He would raise them as herds. Some explain what he meant to say is. His point was that the fact that you raise them as groups, as herds, that's indicative of its behema characteristic. That's more of a domesticated type, in which case it's classified as behema. So we have 4 shittas regarding the koi. Behema, chaya, he's a crossbreed between behema and chaya, or he's a new entity, undefinable. Okay, now we shift to a new type of unique breed. Amar Rabbi Zera, Amar Rab Safra, Amar Rav Huna, Hani Izay the Bala. Az is a goat, of course, but here we have the wild goats. Bala is the forest, they grow in the forests. They're also considered behema, and you can bring them as a korban to the mizbeach, where only behemas are suitable. Okay, so according to him, these wild goats are behemas. And in fact, Savarla Kiha de Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, because he's in line with Rabbi Yitzchak's understanding of the pasuk in Dvarim, which provides a list, a comprehensive, and apparently a full, complete list of behemoths which are edible, which are kosher, which gives us a total of 10. 3 of which are behemoths, Shoyer, six ksavim, v'sa'izim, 3 behemoths. Then we have a list of 7 chayos. Ayol, utzvi, v'yachmur, v'akoy, the akoy animal, v'dishoin, usa'oy, and the sa'oy animal, v'zamar, and the zamar animal. So 3 behemoths and 7 chayos. So look at Rabbi Yitzchak. He holds like Rabbi Yitzchak, who says, Eser behemoths mana kosev. There is a reason why the Torah listed only 10 behemoths in that list of permissible behemoths / chayos. There is no other kosher animal in the world. Okay, now, so these wild goats, they're not mentioned amongst the chayos in the pasuk. We don't have, we have ayot, tzvi. We don't have these mentioned. So apparently, they belong to the behemoth family. It's a goat, like the other goats. Shema mino de'ez ninu. That proves that these wild goats are considered like behemoth. Maskeflar of Achabar Yaakov. I have a question, he says, behemoth perhaps. Who says we should limit it to only 10? Perhaps, these examples in the pasuk are just samples of many more on the list. Behemoth, we can say, Ayol Utzvi, these specific names are prat, are specifics. But then in the next pasuk it says, V'chol behemoth mafreses parsa, which is a more of an expansive, general view. V'chol behemoth. So we have a klal, a generality, which is followed by a specific. And what happens? The generality, the general reference expands. It's a prat uklal, a specific followed by a general. Nasa klal, moisev ala prat. So the klal, the v'chol behemoth comes and expands the prat to tell you ikotuva. There are many more kosher behemoths, kosher chayos. Okay, so maybe these many more chayos. So maybe these the wild goats, are a type of chaya, although not specified in the pasuk, but they're alluded to in that general, with that general term, v'chol behemoth, that's expansive and includes other types of chayos unmentioned in the pasuk. So how do you know these aren't chayos? In Cain, if that's the case, the Torah is trying to expand it. Why bother? Why trouble yourself to mention only these 10? In Cain kolhani prati lamli. So why bother going to 10 specifics if, anyways, you're expanding it to many more? The Torah could have simply said, 1 or 2 examples and said, okay, everything else as well. The fact that we have 10 names tells us that it's limited to these 10. And once again, since the wild goats are not mentioned amongst the chayos, apparently they're considered like the regular goats. They're behemoths. I have a question. You're proving from the fact that these are not mentioned amongst the chayos. Who says they're not mentioned amongst the chayos? Do you know exactly what these names are? We have akoy, strange sounding chaya. What is that? Maybe that's the wild goat. So it is mentioned. Maybe it's the sa'oy, maybe it's the zamar. Some say it was Rav Achaber. Maybe the wild goats are sa'oy, which are mentioned in the pasuk amongst the chayos. Or they're a variety of zemer. So how do we know? Maybe they're really chayos. In any case, we actually have a shita. Amalei Rav Chanan Rav Ashi. Let me tell you, Amemar Shari Tarbayu. He considered these wild goats like chayos, and he allowed the consumption of their fat as per the halacha of a chaya. Interesting. So we have a shita that they're behemoths. Some say they're chayos, and some say, well, it's unknown. Another question, a discussion regarding the same animals. Abba Breder Rav Minyamin Barachia, he asked, how is it the bal of these forest goats? Mao, look up at Mizbeach. Are they classified as behemoth? And can they be used as a carbon or not? Amarlei says, of course, yes. Akan le plige, there's only a machlekes regarding shor habar, the wild bull, the beast. Adkan le plige, some say it's a buffalo. Rabbi Yisrael Rabban had a discussion only regarding that wild bull. The Snanas, we have a Mishnah regarding that buffalo or whatever it is, shor habar, which is the sa'oy in the Torah, sa'oy. Min behemo is considered a behemo. Rabbi Yisrael min chay, he's a chay. Why? What's the machlekes based on? Interestingly, it's based on the translation. If you look at the unclus on the word sa'oy, that's the one of the chayos on that list, we find an interesting targum. The Rabbanon Savri, Rabbanon hold, midi mitargaminon. If you look at the unclus, which of course was brought down from halach, from Sinai, very reliable. What does it translate for the word sa'ai? Torah bala. Now think, Torah bala is a comprised word. Torah means a shor, right, in Aramaic. And bala, that's like the bala we had before, that's the forest, the wild shor. So the Targum refers to the sa'ai as a type of shor. A shor is a bull, a shor is a behemah. Mina the behemah. Apparently, it's part of the behemah family. Rabbi Yisrael disagrees. So why would it be listed sandwiched amongst the ayil, tzvi, v'yachon, which are certainly bona fide chayes? The fact that it's there, Mina the chayu tells us that this too is a type of chaya. So that's regarding the shor habar. But these wild goats, which are not mentioned in the chaya list, all agree. The all agree. The eiz ninu, Mina the eiz ninu, they're a type of eiz, a type of goat. In which case they're classified as behemoth and suitable for carbon. Well, here comes the same question as before. He has a question. Maybe these wild goats are really the akai animal mentioned in the pasuk, so they were considered chayes. Maybe they're sa'ai. Maybe that's what zemer is. Today we don't really, know how to pinpoint these types. Maybe it's from the sa'ai family, or from the zamer family. No. In conclusion, he brings a meimar shita, which is that these wild goats are actually established as chayos. Shari tarbayu allowed the consumption of their fat as per the halacha regarding a chayo. Okay, so we discussed the kai, we discussed the izi de bala, we discussed the shor habar. Okay, now back to the Mishnah. Oisev es benai. One is forbidden from shechting, doing shchita on the animal and its offspring within the same day. And the Mishnah gives us many variations of this halacha, some involving regular animals, CHULLIN, some involving korban animals. And if it's done outside the Beis HaMikdash, there's kares for doing so. A person not allowed to take a korban shechted outside. Keitzad hashechet. So sometimes he's liable for doing shechut echutz, which means doing the korban outside. There's kares for that. There's also malchus. Sometimes he's chayev for doing oisev es benai. Sometimes the korban is okay. Sometimes it's possible, depending on the circumstance. Here comes an interesting statement from Rav Oishia. Amar bi Oishia, kulam as nissen. If you take a look at the Mishnah, you'll see the entire Mishnah, the loy ki Rabbi Shimon, is inconsistent with Rabbi Shimon's shita. Now, what is Rabbi Shimon? Rabbi Shimon is going to be speaking to us tomorrow on Daf Pei Aleph. He's going to tell us that unless a shchita is a shchita ru'uya, which means it permits, it affects edibility on the basar, which is the prime objective of shchita, right? To permit the flesh for consumption. So only then is it considered a halachically valid shchita, with respect to many halachas regarding being considered a shchita for oisev es benai, to make him liable for that. All kinds of halachas. Only a shchita which permits, we'll call it an edible shchita. Only that's reckoned with. Only that has validity. Otherwise not. Our entire Mishnah will not be going like that opinion. The loy Rabbi Shimon. How do I know this? Mimai. How do I know? Take a look at the Mishnah. He took oisev es benai, so the animal and its offspring. Two animals, kachim, they were carbon, animals. Bachutz, he did it outside the Beis HaMikdash. What does the Mishnah say? Rishon chayev kares. For the first shchita, he gets kares because he did the carbon outside. But for the second one, there's no kares, because once he does the first one, the second one is right now currently not suitable for carbon in the Beis HaMikdash, because you have to wait until tomorrow. So something which is unsuitable for carbon, even if done outside, there's no kares. Okay, so there's only kares for the first one, which named psulim. Of course, both are puzzle because they were done outside. Ushnayim soif kimasar boim. The fellow will get malchus for shechting the first one because it's carbon outside, and for the second one because it was in close proximity to the first one within the same day. Oisev es benai. Now, according to Reb Shimon, this won't work. Why? Michti, look, Shamina le Reb Shimon. We know that Reb Shimon holds. The Amari told us shechita she'ena ru'uya, shechita which doesn't affect edibility. Lo yishma shechita is not regarded as shechita. So Oisav es Benoi, for instance, only applies when it's a proper edible shchita on their animal and its offspring. Oh, now in our case, we turn to Talmud Beis, Kama. Look, when he shechted the first one, which was carbon outside, is that a valid shchita? Of course not. Miktul katla, it's like he killed the animal. We're totally invalid shchita. There's no edibility there. It's destroying the animal. It's a carbon outside. So, sure, he gets liability for that in terms of shchutei chutz. Rashi says it's there's akasav, even though it's not really a valid shchita, but that's what the liability is for taking a carbon outside. That he gets punished for that. But in terms of counting it as the first of the pair of Oisav es Benoi, no, not at all. It won't count. Rashi says we need utvayach tevach v'hochen. This is a pasuk by Yosef HaTzadik. Shchita is meant to prepare for edibility, and here it doesn't do that. So it's like the first one is totally discounted. Sheni, so now the second animal, the second carbon, can technically be brought back into the Beis HaMikdash and shechted today. There's no problem Oisav es Benoi because the first one, as far as we're concerned, never happened. Sheni miskavel bifnimu. So the second animal, second carbon, can still be used for a carbon inside, and if he takes it outside, it's like he took a proper, suitable carbon, did it outside, he gets kares. Full liability. Kares namim l'chayiv, let him get kares. According to Reb Shimon, the Mishnah says not so. That's number one. Strike one. Strike two. Next case. Mishnah says chulim lifnim shneim psulim. Took two animals, both chulim, did them inside, inappropriately, in the Beis HaMikdash. They're both possible because, a chulin and the azara can't be shechted as possible. And on the second one gets malchus, because it's the second of the Oisav es Benoi. Same question. Why? Where was the first one? It was an unsuitable shchita. It's discounted. It's disregarded. Michti shamina li Reb Shimon da Amar. Shchita she'ena ruya lo yishma. Shchita, we know that according to Reb Shimon, unless the shchita makes edibility, it's not counted. It's not reckoned with. So here, the first of the two that was done in the Azara, it's discounted. It's an unsuitable shchita. Come, mitu katla, it's like he killed him. So now when he moves on to the second one, he's not number two, he's like number one. It's like the first shchita happening today. Sheni amai soifik esabrim. Why does he get malchus for the second one? According to Rav Shimon, he shouldn't get malchus. Strike two. Strike three, next case. In the Mishnah. Kachim b'fnim, he takes two karbanis kachim, he does it inside the Beis HaMikdash. Sounds good. Harish and kosher or pata. The first one is A-okay, great, a carbon inside. What better can you get than that? V'sheni, soifik esabrim. For the second one, he gets malchus. Upassel, because it's Oisav es Benoi, it's the same day, and it's possible because it's premature. It's like mechusar zman. It's like a carbon too young. Before 8 days, you can't bring it as a carbon within the same day as the mother. So it's possible. Now comes an interesting question. Let's think about this. Shchita of a carbon, is that called shchita ru'uya? Does that make edibility? Well, eventually, after the shchita and the zrika was done, when they applied the blood to the mizbeach, so the carbon could be eaten. But at this point, the shchita per se, as its own independent experience, does it affect instant edibility? No. So you can say that the shchita is not really an edibility generator. It doesn't permit the food per se. So perhaps according to Reb Shimon, every shchita of a carbon is really called shchita she'ena ru'iyah, as far as we're concerned, as far as counting him as a shchita for Oisav es Benoi, etc. And that's the question. Michti, look, Shamin the Reb Shimon, we know the Reb Shimon holds, the Amari tells us, shchita she'ena ru'iyah, lo yishma shchita which doesn't affect edibility, instant edibility, is not counted for Oisav es Benoi. Shchita's kachim nami shchita she'ena ru'iyah, and for that matter, shchita of a carbon is also not ru'iyah. Why? The kama de lo zarik, adam, because until he sprinkles the blood of the mizbeach, which is the next phase later, the food can't be eaten, the carbon can't be eaten. If so, the shchita is not really a shchita ru'uyah. So you heard that he took two karbanis and did the shchita within the same 5 minutes. Why is he liable for the second one as Oisav es Benoi? Because he's number two? He's not number two. There was no number one as far as we're concerned. The first one was not a shchita ru'uyah. Shchita of a carbon is not shchita ru'uyah. Sheinit for the second one, amai soifig esarbayim apostle. Why is it possible? Because it's premature. Why is he getting malchus? Because it's Oisav es Benoi. The first one never happened as far as we're concerned. Elosh maminot like Reb Shimon. Oh, that proves our point that the Mishnah is not going to Reb Shimon. Well, Pshita Dachi is, of course, pretty obvious that the Mishnah is not going to Reb Shimon. What's the point of sort of promoting this? I mean, it's pretty clear. Well, Rav Ashi was mainly trying to highlight that last point. I mean, it's an interesting twist to say that every shechita of every carbon, even a proper carbon in the proper location, is not reckoned with respect to Reb Shimon's shechita ru'uya requirement. It's an interesting chiddush, since the shechita on its own does not affect instant edibility. Shechita's kachim etzrichli, his main point was to highlight this last twist, that the shechita of a carbon is not regarding Reb Shimon's requirements. Salga, perhaps I would say, well, it's true, the shechita itself can affect instant achila, but hold it, just do this riking, it'll be when you finish the process, of course. So perhaps it does count. Salga, perhaps I would say, shechita's kachim, even the shechita of a carbon, shechita ru'yi is considered shechita ru'yi, the ha'inachar. Look, if he goes and kills the animal, just kills it, damaging the simanim, whatever, vazarik dam, and then he proceeds and takes the blood on the mizbeach. Of course it won't work. Let mishtri, it's not going to allow the carbon, the basar. Right? But if you do shechita and then you proceed with the zrika, you'll have a proper carbon. So you see, shechita does play a positive role, does contribute to the edibility. Vikishachat. Versus if he does shechita and then he follows with the zrika, mishtri basar, of course the basar will become mutter. So perhaps you can argue and say that technically the shechita is a catalyst for edibility. V'shechita ru'iyah, so the shechita is considered shechita ru'iyah. Kamashman, the point of Reish is to say no. Because the shechita as an independent experience does not permit. It doesn't affect instant heter, and therefore it would be considered shechita shein ru'iyah. Interesting observation. Okay, now we sort of digress to a slightly different point here. In the Mishnah we speak about the second carbon being Oisev Es B'nai, there's Malkus. Why is there no Malkus on account of another reason as well? It's too early in the game. I mean, you have to wait until tomorrow. That's Mechusar Zman. For instance, a carbon, a newborn, before 8 days, you can't bring it as a carbon. If you do, it's called Mechusar Zman. It's missing time. It's short-timed. There's Malkus for that. So let him get another Malkus for doing the second carbon too early. Little Kinami, let him get another set of lashes, Mishum Lav de Mechusar Zman, because of the Isra of bringing something too early, which generates Malkus. The Sani, we have a brayso about that. How do we know that all the issues, all the deficiencies, blemishes, or short-timed regarding the animals there? There's a lav layiratza, and there's Malkus. Tamleim v'shar v'ses or v'kolot. That's an extra pasuk. Lima to teach us al apsulin shebishar all deficiencies, even timing issues. Shublayirotza, there's a Malkus. So why isn't that mentioned in the Mishnah as well? Says the Gemara, you're right. The Mishnah doesn't, list every single possible liability. We're talking Oisev Es B'nai today, right? That's our subject matter. Kika chashav lave. The Mishnah only counts in lavim and liabilities, the Oisev Es B'nai, on account of that Isser. Lavim nuchroi, strange, liabilities such as Mechusar Zman, although it is relevant, but it's not on our radar today. Like a chashav. Really? We have a whole Mishnah which discusses kachim b'chutz as well, and all its liabilities. V'loi v'kachim b'chutz. The lavi nuchroi, those are strange, unrelated lavim, unrelated to Oisev Es B'nai, lavim nuchroi nenum k'chashiv, and the Mishnah does count it into our, bring it into our discussion, right? Brings Malkus for that too. The Mishnah had a case where kachim b'chutz, right? Took two kachim animals, did them both outside. Rishon chayiv kares, the first one gets kares. Rishneim sefkin sarbam, gets Malkus for both. Now, Bishlam Ishayni, Mishum Lav Oisev Es B'nai, he gets Malkus for the second one, because it's the second of the two Oisev Es B'nai. Good. El Rishon, why is he getting Malkus for the first one? Because he did it outside, so it's an unrelated Lav. Lav Mishum isn't because Lav the Shchut, he violated the issue of doing it outside. So we do count other Lavim and other Malkus. Well, you're right, in some cases. Where there is no Oisev Es B'nai, so we throw in, we fill in the blank with other things, but when he's already liable for Oisev Es B'nai, we're not going to cram it in with other, even though they are true. So as the Gemara, Kalecha de lecha lav d'oisev es b'nai. In a case where there is no liability for Isves Benoi, such as the first animal here, which is the first of the two, Chashiv Lav Nechra, yeah, the Mishnah throws in, counts in other lavim, to fill in the blank. But in the case where you're getting malchus, anyways, for Isves Benoi, so the blank is filled up already with relevant, pertinent liabilities. We don't throw in extra lavim, even though they do exist. So technically, he gets another malchus for Mechus Zman. Reb Zera Amar, he says, no, let me give you another answer to this question. No, there is no lav for Mechus Zman. There is no malchus. Reb Zera Amar Hanach leMechus Zman. Let's put aside the problem of Mechus Zman. There's no malchus. The Akos of Nitkai, we turn to the next page, the Akos of Nitkai la'aseh, Torah converts it from a lav to an aseh. And aseh doesn't get malchus. Where was that conversion done? My time. The pasuk says, Miyay mashmina v'hala yeratze. First 7 days is not suitable for carbon, don't bring him. Right? But from the 8th day and onward, yeratze is acceptable, you can use as a carbon. So here it's like a positive, it's a mitzvah say, only use him from now on. Miyay mashmin v'hala yeratze. Miyay mashmina from the 8th day in, yes. Onward, yes. Mikar alay, but beforehand, no. So that's a negative implied from a positive, right? Going forward, yes, but prior, no. So it's a lav, it's a negative, that's haba, that's implied, michlal asay from a positive, and that has a status of a positive and asay. Hence, a short-timed animal has no malchus, has no lav. Ask the Gemara, but this pasuk that we've just used as a converter between a lav to an asay is needed for something else, not available for this. It's needed, look at the Rabbi Turiki. The Rabbi Turiki, Rami, he had a stira, a contradiction between two psukim. Ksiv, on one pasuk it says, first 7 days after birth, he stays with his mother, he's not suitable for carbon, which sounds like right after 7 days are up, that very night he is. Halayla, that very night, okay, chazi, you can use him as a carbon. And then we have a next pasuk which says, no, you have to wait until the next morning. Uksiv, only from the morning of the 8th. In from the daybreak of 8th, yes. Laila, but the previous night, not. So what's the status of that night? Okay, so how do you work this out? Laila l'kedusha. The night between 7 and 8, you can designate him as a carbon, which typically you can't do if it's Mechus Zman. No. So here you could, even though technically during the night you can't bring him as a carbon, but it's close enough to the next morning you can be magdashim without liabilities. Yom lahartzah, but in terms of hatzah, actually offering him as a carbon, you have to wait till the next day. So according to Rav Tarika, this pasuk is fully used for something else and unavailable for our purpose to convert the Mechus Zman from a lav to an asay and make him exempt from malchus. The answer is we have another pasuk for that. You're right. Ksiv Karachrin, we have another pasuk that will make this conversion. King Tasel Asherchel Etzanecha, we have another pasuk which says this is how you should apply to your other animal. Shiva Syam Mia Imay, first 7 days with his mother. By Mashmina Titnali, from the 8th day you can serve him as a carbon. Hence we know that it's only suitable starting from 8th day, beforehand not. So that's a negative implied from a positive, which gives us a status of an asay with no malchus. Okay, so in a nutshell we discussed the difference of opinion in terms of codifying the koi, the izi the bala, the shor habar. We had a chiddush that the Mishnah, which holds him liable for Isav Esbrai regarding all these types of shchitas, even though they're not edible shchitas, is unlike Reb Shimon. And we discussed the machlekes whether there's malchus for being magdish a mechusar zman. And magdish or shechting mechusar zman. All the best, even atzlachara.